Hello everybody, welcome to today's webinar. This is Thomas and I'm going to be the host of your webinar for the next half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, hopefully not that much. And as you can see from my slide here, we are going to talk about the last part of our production and project planning webinar that will cover the transport module. We are going to go deep into detail into the transfer module. We are going to discuss about how to do some logistics efficiently, and of course, everything that I'm going to show you, that doesn't mean that you have to use, or you do not have to use them in this specific order that I'm going to use. The software is pretty open, and you are very, very welcome to use this webinar as part of your workflow in your company. Yes, so now that the summer is over, the time is to go back now again to the software, and with no further ado, let's go back to our project. If you remember, I used to have a project here, pretty much, big building, a lot of different types of elements. We have done some production planning. I have, as you can see, I have produced some elements. We have done some controls on some elements. We have set the dates. We have done a lot of things through the mobile app. We created disorders. We create notifications and send mails to people, and we also manage our tender planning even before we had the project, and we did all of the project planning, as I say, and the production planning properly. However, what is left is the transfer planning. I know that a lot of you are doing the transfer planning before you are doing the cost planning, and that is absolutely fine. In this specific case, I'm following the order that I'm doing the production planning and then naturally move on to the transfer planning. In reality, I know that most of you will want to have at least an idea of the transfer planning, and you can see this webinar first before you go into the cost planning webinar. So there is not really a workflow issue here. If you want to do the transfer planning, do it first and then have that indication to use it as your driving factor regarding your production planning. So when it comes to transfer planning in impact, and I will speak impact language, I'm not going to speak your language or the language of the factory, I'm going to speak the language of the software. So in the language of the software, we have two things that we need to take care of: the transfer planning and the stack planning. The stack planning, of course, is planning your elements on a specific stack and then taking those stacks, adding them on to a vehicle that gives us what we call the transfer planning. So in order to have a transfer planning, we need to have a vehicle and a stack. In order to have the stack planning, we need to just define our different stack types. I have done a lot of presentations before about the stack types and the transport types and the vehicle types, and I don't see wasting your time today into looking into these specific things into detail. You are very welcome to look into the previous webinars about that, but for your case here, as you see in the settings in the resource manager, you can define a lot of different stack templates that they have a type of a rack. That means that they can be a double-sided rack, A-frame, an L-frame, a single-sided, or an in-loader, the ones that they slide into the in-loader type. And other than that, you can just have a horizontal and a vertical type: horizontal for your slab or your floor elements, and vertical for your wall elements and your vertical basically elements, right? Then when you have the stack template, you need to create a transport vehicle. And a transport vehicle, of course, can be, in my case here, I have my in-loader, I have my trailer, and I have my truck, right? And they have the different dimensions about how much elements, max width and vehicles width and height and everything. And here down, you create the different pin axles and what is the dimensions of where you put the wheels and so on and so forth. This is again something that it is explained also in our wiki, but for sure you are very welcome to ask me more questions or look into a previous video after this webinar. And the last thing, in order to be able to do an automatic transport or like an auto transport, it is called in the software, you need to have created your transport template. What is a transport template? It's a combination of a vehicle and a default stack. Simple as that. So when you have those three fields here filled out with detailed information, then you can decide if you want to use the 3D transport module, the one with the actual view of the track and your stack, or you don't want that, you think that is too complicated for you, and you want to use only the 2D transport module, where you still get your reports, you still get everything you need out of your transport, and print out the details that you want to print, but you will not be able to see that, how it will look in real life. And that is something that you control from the main settings, and it is controlled from the use visual stacker. In this case, I'm using yes, because this is what I would like to do. Yes, that is with the settings in the resource manager. Hopefully we are not going to use the resource manager so much today, because as you might well know, a transport is usually made per project. So when I create a project and when I have my elements in the project, then I want to create my transports. In my case here, I will take floor 1 and I will start a little bit with the vertical elements, right? So I will just filter out and put my sandwich walls. So when I have walls, vertical walls, I have decided the transport template, and transport template is a trailer and my A-frame, right? Let's say that is the example that I'm going to show you now. So what I'm going to do is create a transport automatically. There is no need for me to create the stack first and then add it on a vehicle. When that is necessary when we have slabs. The slabs weigh less, and that means that first I can create my stacks, and then according to the capacity of my vehicles, I can add 2 or 3 stacks maybe of slabs on top of only one vehicle. In an A-frame, the A-frame usually in most cases covers the whole length of your track, and that means that only one A-frame can be added, and that means that the restrictions that you have set according to weight, length, width, and so on the stack, that will also be the restrictions for adding on the vehicle. Let's go see how everything it works. So in order to begin with, let's select only a few elements, so I don't want to confuse a lot. So I will select those elements. This color here, this orange color of the status, is not very nice looking. Now you will tell me the gray is not even better, but it's easier to see what I'm selecting here, at least with a gray color. So I will take those elements and I will use this function called auto transport. As you can see here, 3 elements plannable. Let's take 4 so we can make a better A-frame in a sense. So I will say auto transport here, and now I will create a loading order according to my erection sequence. Those elements have an erection sequence predefined, and that gives me the possibility of adding them in a stack order according to the erection sequence. What else is the possibilities? Erection sequence reversed, last one on the pile, first one delivered on site, and then we have selection order, of course. I will keep the erection sequence now. And then I have the different templates. I personally know that the trailer template goes with the A-frame, right? So I will do that. And then I will create a status preliminary here. The preliminary status is because I do not want the actual status of my elements be affected just because I have created a transport, right? So this is not what I would like to do. You can have price list, you can select price list, you use the element dates, meaning that this is going to be blocked and automatically be selected the date coming from the plant erection date and the plant delivery date. If you don't want that, then you can also manually do that. Of course, for efficiency and being faster, we can do that. We can also select different delivery addresses, contacts, if you have that in your database, and basically say OK. Let's say OK. And now we're going to see what happens when we create this transport. The transport is done. And now you see here, I will also, you know what, I will take it out just like that. Let's see if that will be okay. And now you can see and manage the transport. So the transport has three views, right? The first view is the main transport view. Here on the right top, you have the actual elements and the net picking of the elements. And in the last, you have, of course, the 3D, the 3D view and how it looks in 3D. So in the transport, you can only select the full frame by itself, right? So you can move it and you cannot select, of course, every element one by one. When you're moving the frame, you can see the center of gravity is changing and the axle mass and how much is the pressure on the axles is also changing according to where you move your stack on top of it. If this is something that confuses you, if this is something that you don't want to see, you can take it down or you can close it as I showed you from and then just work on this level here. On this level here, you have every element separately under the A-frame. And on this level, you have the whole transport together. In the whole transport, you have a lot of information. As you see, blue, as we said, is something that we can manage and change easily. Black is something that we cannot edit unless, of course, we add more elements or delete elements and so on and so forth, right? The usage rate of my transport is 51, and then these elements have been produced, and you can add description, and you can also, use this new feature called here loading duration and unloading duration. This is also something you can do from the mobile app, of course, because that's where the real time comes in. So if you right click on your transport, you can see here that you can actually print your transport planning report and get a QR code that you can scan in and control your transport through the mobile app. Of course, this is something I'm also going to show you, and it's good to have this transport report for a little bit later when I'm going to use the transport app, right? So now I have the transport app, and now that I did the transport planning, I'm going to show you that, as I said before, a transport is a combination of a stack and a vehicle. Going back to the stack planning, I'm expecting when I refresh to be able to see a new stack that was created. That stack also is here, and here is basically where I can manipulate things per element. So for example, here you see this element and this element, or maybe let's say this and this, that instead of putting them next to each other, we might be actually to put them on the length. How can we do that? We have a function that when you select them here and you right click, we have this function called merge stack layer. This is the most important function that you can use, the merge stack layer. So let's use this merge stack layer, and then let's see what happens. And then those elements are placed on the same line on the stack. Selecting this element and this element and merging those also, in theory, they will also be placed there. And that's how easily you can make this look. You will not be able to fantasize that if you were only looking at the stack layer number and the stack sequence number 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you know that 1 and 2 are going to be unloaded first because that's the erection sequence, but number 14 and number 3 and 4 are going to be afterwards, and they are from this side. Yes, so it is easier for you to fantasize what element is going to unload first and what element is going to be unload second, and actually be able to do this type of manipulations. Now that we have done this, now we can go and actually go back to transfer planning and try to be a little bit more fast, right? So I will take all of my walls here. I don't know how it will look. I will just create this erection sequence, use the dates, trailer, say OK, and just press OK and wait to see how much time it will take me to create a transport. Just so you know, when creating a transport, we have the two main factors for us right now is not the space of the A-frame, but it is actually how many elements, the max element count, and the max capacity, and the max load that our how do you call it, our stack or vehicle can take. In this case, you see, this is 77% of like 30 tons, and you can see here how the elements look. I can take up to 7. Here you can see also there are some more sandwich wall coming in, but that should not worry you, or you should not feel like that something is wrong here. Of course, you can leave it like that, or you can fix it by yourselves. There is also, of course, one here, and that's actually a very good thing that you can see, because now what I can do, it's actually very nice. I can select this element, I can cut it, and then I go to my first track. And because I know there is space enough, I can select my A-frame and say paste. And again, in theory, this should give me the element right here. That is as easy as that. Total mass is 1 ton. And why is 1 ton? That is because this is the own weight of the actual A-frame. Right, now I can delete my transport 6. I can say delete, and transport 6 is gone. And now this looks a little bit better at least, right? So as I said before, I have 5 transports here for sandwich walls. I want to fix them. I want to make them look better. What am I going to do? I'm going to press refresh and come back here. Take number 2 and start fixing. What I usually say is that if it takes you more than 2 minutes to fix the view, then maybe it doesn't worth doing, because of course a lot of people in the factory, they do that for many years, and they might be experts in their field, and they might know that in reality it will not be exactly like that, but it might require some extra effort or something. So I will do those two, and as you see, the only thing I'm doing is basically putting the merge stack layer function, especially in the A-frames, and then I get something like that, right? And that looks pretty compact to me. And then I move on to the second one, and the only thing I have to do in the transfer planning, just for your, like, it still looks like that, right? I just have to press refresh, and then I'm getting into the transfer plan. Yes, that's basically it when it comes to walls. Another example, like just for not spending a lot of your time, another example would be to take those and make them into an inloader, right? I'll just take the inloader, use the same sequence as before, and I'll just try to show you that also how it looks. That created also again a few extra transports, transport number 6 and transport number 7 and transport number 8. So you see here, this is an inloader, and this is an inloader, and this is again, I guess, one element coming in. I will do the same function as before. I will cut it and then go back in. Yes. Oh yeah, okay. It's all right. Now you will see that the mass will exit, but in theory, you can always have that 103. Now it's like 31.14 on a 30 tons. Sometimes you can actually, if you want, you can see the system and send some, but at least you will know about it. You will know about it. This is not something I propose you to do, but sometimes we know that the 30 or the 28 sometimes is a kind of a conservative capacity. We know we can carry maybe up to 35 tons, right? So when we go back to the stacks, I will refresh and I will get my stacks here. The one thing you need to remember about inloaders is that, for example, here, it looks pretty good, pretty neat. There is nothing to do. There is no merge the stack layer together because there is not really, a support here to put the elements together. You can split the inloader with different windbreaks or with different stoppages, or I don't remember how they are called. I think gables. Yes, they are called gables. Correct. So you can put the gables here, and then you can use the second part of your inloader like that. This is a very simple example of an inloader, so there is not really something that you can do. Other than that, you can just always take this and move it into space and do whatever you want. It is the same 3D moving functionality as before, and the sequence number will also be um, updated as long as you move it to another place. Yes, so this is the one way of working, creating transports for your vertical elements. Second way of working is, for example, I'll take my holocore, as I always love to do, and try to do um, a transport for my holocores, right? And in our case now, I want to do a stack for the holocore. So I want to create first a stack and select my horizontal stack. The dates are also coming automatically from the plant delivery dates. So I created my 2 stacks. Hopefully those are going to be enough. You see here? They look like that. So what can I do here in order to fix those before I even put them on the transport? I can see here there is one slab that it is not really correct on the side, so I will just move it up. Or you can move it up like that. I think this is, yeah, they are the same fast. You cannot really select it and put it all the way up. That will take more time in a sense to be able to figure that out. So it's better if you just move it up like that, and now it's up on the top of the pile. And for the other one, and again, these are just examples, so you can see the different ways of doing things. So in this case here, I have some half slabs here, so I will just merge the stack layer together, and then I will merge this and this together. And this is pretty lucky because this, I didn't select also, as you can see, the small ones here that they need more work. So I just did like that. And then of course the small one, you can move it again up you can move it all the one layer up immediately. What happens is if you move them only in that little one, then it will of course take the place of one of those. We don't want that. We want it to move the whole layer up, and that's what we're doing here. Yeah, and now it's up. Those two are up. I do not know how much is the tonnage of them. Hopefully, no, it's like 19, it's like 20 and 22. I don't think they will be able to be placed on the same track, but in theory, what we like to do is select those two now, add them to an auto transport, create a preliminary auto transport, and then of course select what vehicle we would like to add them on. You see that the vehicle capacity now is 30, and those two together are like 44. So this is not going to be work in one. Now we'll use the element dates, say okay, see the total mass is 41.5, and that's not going to plan them in the same transport. You see transport number 8 and transport number 9. Go here, refresh, get my two different transports. Pretty good. And in a special case where I would really like to combine those two, and I will show you just to show you that you can also cut the whole, if you select actually your load here, the whole stack, you can cut it and you can actually paste it here to your truck. So you need to select what you want to cut and then paste it where you want it to be cut. And then you see 138, two stacks, one here, and then you can actually put them pretty close to each other. So they are also gray, yes, and they look like that. So in a theoretical world, that of course the capacities are already predefined, then you can do things like that. So you can see it's pretty fast. There is not really something that you are missing. If I put the whole floor one here, you have all the transports and the situation where you can actually see which elements are going with which transport. So you can actually review your transfer planning directly from the model. There is also the same with your stack planning. And now that we're going to discuss about the different statuses of the transports, then you will also be able to see the transport status. For example, if something is called off and something is not called off. So this is how we work. Now some tips and tricks. This is the easy way. This is like, the commercial way. You have the elements, you put them in, you have some erection sequence, maybe not. Then we go in and say, how can we, for example, combine transports from other projects? Because sometimes I have heard that a lot. A lot of people get multiple big projects now, and sometimes they split them in different zones, in different things. So when I create a transport here, it is important to remember that there are some properties, right? So I will select this just as an example and go to the transport properties here. And you see, in the end, you can do that also when you create another transport, is called this join transport. If I say yes, then I will have the possibility to show this specific transport directly into another project. So if I go and say here, I will not do it now because I have done that for another project. So I will come and use this filter here and say show join transports. Now here I have two transports, 126, and that maybe they are going to the same place, right? Or it's the project split into two, and there is this zone where I want to send some elements from one project to another. I know this is not very common or something, but a lot of times it can happen. So what can you do? Of course, you see the dates are off, so don't worry about it. Doesn't really matter. You can change the dates to match this, but what you can actually do is select. I will get the floor 2 element. I'll take this now, and I will try to let's call it drag and drop it from here and add it to this A-frame. One element has been loaded, and now I have an element from this project into this transport. And now I have, now I can mix and match things between projects. Anyways, this was just so I can show you that you can use joint transports and how this. A lot of times I have been asked this question: what is that joint transports and how can I use that? And this is how you can use the joint transports. The same, of course, will happen in your transport planning in the resource manager, right, where you can filter out things and get a lot of different transports from different models in. A new development that I have actually just done a tip of the week on, and I would really like to show you, is that now I select my elements, press auto transport, right, and select myself what template I want to use. Then sometimes, I have to select, the walls first, the whole across afterwards, and so on and so forth, right? So, but what I can do actually here is I can pre-select the templates for every element, what template I want to be added. Add the erection sequence. This is important to have the erection sequence predefined, and use this button called the use predefined templates. And then the software will do the job for you. Simple as that. It will follow an erection sequence. It will follow what template you want every element to be added on, and it will create transport numbers and transport all of your transports according to the erection sequence. So 1, 2, and 3 will go to the first transport, 3, 4, 5 will go to an in-loader template. In the second transport, 5, 6, 7 will go to a trailer, back to a trailer and an A-frame with, how do you call it? With a new, yeah, with a new transport. So I will close that now, and I'm going to show you how it works. So as a reference, I will just select, as I did in my webinar, I will just select the sandwich walls of the second floor. I will go to the element IDs. Remember to make this configuration here to be your how do you call it, your transfer planning configuration. And then here is the magic field called the transport template. You can select it like that and say set transport template and then apply track, for example, for those. No, sorry, the track is not correct because the track is for horizontal elements. So I will take trailer, say apply, and then go here and say that planning set transport template type in loader. I will continue doing that for planning trailer, and the last part is set transport template in loader, say apply, save. Remember, you need to have an erection sequence added to it. If you do not have an erection sequence, this will not work. So I will select all of my elements and go into a transfer planning. I will select use the predefined templates and select the erection sequence because this is what I'm using. If you want to select them in a specific order, that's also fine. But for me, it always works better with the erection sequence. Preliminary, okay. And in theory, that will give me transports. That was very, very quick. I hit 10, 11, 12. I forgot to erase number 9. That's fine. Of course, now I have to manually change the transport number of each and every one of them. But now we start transport number 10. It's an in-loader. Transport number 11. It's an in-loader. Transport number 12. It's an in-loader. Oh, it's an A-frame. Transport number 13 is an in-loader. Transport number 14 is a and then it goes and it goes and it takes accordingly. And you can see here that still elements are grouped on the same way. And this element, for example, and this element are on the same transport because they had the same template and the closest how do you call it? They were the ones the closest having this in-loader type of transport template, and that's why they were grouped like that. And of course, as I explained, this is because you have different types of elements, different types of sizes of tracks and stuff that you want to quickly do it without having to netpick and go. This will be basically difficult, or it will be more to say 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe you will not know that. But if you filter those elements here, the element IDs, according to the specific height, length, width, then you assign all of those elements that they exceed a specific dimension to the corresponding template, and then you assign the others to the other templates that you have, and then you just select all of them and let the software do the rest for you. That's as easy as it can get. Yes. So this is another very cool function. You can see very quickly we have created a lot of transports. The usage rate, of course, in a project like mine is not very relevant. For you, the usage rate will be would be very important, and that is also because you are doing real projects while I am not doing real projects. I can see that we're closing to the mark of the 40 minutes, and the last things I want to say is about, of course, the types of statuses and the types of, getting a transport, and the transport, gets called off, if that makes sense. So I will just take away the join transports now, so we don't have to see them and get confused. And now, for example, what usually happens is that you can just come in here, say call off, somebody calls off the transport, and you can just easily call off transport number 1. The status, of course, will change to call off, and you can print your how do you call it? You can print your delivery docket, your delivery ID, like the one I did here. Yes, like the one I did here, and then you can scan the QR code with the app. I like to show you the app, so I will try to do this one more time and try to show you the app. So first I will need to open my TeamViewer. I will need to connect to the TeamViewer. Allow, start the broadcast. And that is because I will show you my TeamViewer. And that is because I would like to also show you the new mobile app. We have done what we call the next generation app or something, the NG. Feel free to download it. I think you have been informed about it, and the interface is almost the same, right? There is not a lot of things to discuss about. This is your scanning. You scan, you take the information in, and then you have these elements. It has been called off, and you are going to select those elements. They do not have how do you call it? They do not have a storage location, and that's why some of them they are or the quality control is not performed properly. That's why the status has not changed. A lot of times I have said that you need, this one does not have any element control, so the status changed to being called off, of course, right? So in theory, if we'll be able to do all the controls here, the status will change to whatever we need to do. If we press up here and say, information, then you can see all the properties. And then in the status, you can see that I can actually, here set the date and time, loading, unloading, duration type, to transport checklist, that all of them are on this is a great one, all of them are on the track, and then change the status to on waybill. Set, that's it, go back, and the status is changed now to on waybill. They left the building. Perfect. Of course, as I said, if we did the controls, all of them will be on waybill. When the elements arrive, you scan your docket, the printed docket or not printed docket, depends on how you want to work, and you change the status, of course, to delivered. and that is here, and of course you can change it to delivered. If you have a delivered element, let's change, I cannot change it to delivered, of course, because the delivery date is not today, but if you have delivered, then remember that you can actually select the delivered element, go into the information, and set the status from this button, that of course it is locked now, to erected, if you also are responsible for the erection of your elements. And this is basically the process for going all the way from pre-phase production to the actual design of your elements, producing the elements, logistics planning, delivering, and all the way to erection. I think I showed you a lot of features. I think I showed you a lot of small things, a lot of tips and tricks. There is many more that I didn't, and of course, this is also a lot of things that you need to explore yourselves. If you want to follow exactly what I have done now and be able to work in the exact same project that I'm working in and try to follow step by step what I have shown in those 3 webinars, you are very, very welcome to come into our wiki page. And our wiki page is here. You just Google Impact Wiki Strusoft and will pop up here. And on the left side of the menu here, you have these courses, and there is one called Impact Production. If you start by the training by pressing here, I have shown that before, then you can follow all the steps that I did. I don't think the tender planning is included in the training, but that's something that you can always download and try yourselves. So yeah, so that's it. Follow this training, read what is written, and try to do the same things as I have done in those webinars, and hopefully you will be able to become experts very quickly and do all of your production and project planning in Impact. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure for hosting those 3 webinars. I hope you have a great return to your jobs and look forward for the autumn now and of course the Christmas period hopefully, and I wish you all a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.